With the weather being stable for over a week now, there's lots of opportunity both offshore, inshore, and in the fresh water. The secret to your fishing plans this weekend is to go early to beat the heat. It's time for the Texas Insider Fisher Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, hoping y'all had a fantastic Father's Day weekend fishing, catching, or just spending good old quality time together. But Rick, this week we are officially in that summertime heat, and we sure are feeling it.
You're not kidding, Bree. You know,
Triple digit.
It doesn't really matter where you're fishing, whether it's inshore, offshore, going bass fishing, it's gonna be hot. So guys, beat the heat, get out of bed, like I said, in the cold open, and go early so that if you do get thunderstorms that pop up, it doesn't ruin your day. You've already caught your fish.
Exactly. All right, well, as always, we have our workbench wizard, Dave Farrell, ready to give us some catching know-how. So let's say hi. Hello, Dave, and welcome to summer.
Oh, it is hot. You know, I was just out in Texas too, and I boiled up there was triple digits.
Ooh,
I can't take it.
Well, there's secrets to catching them fish, so we're going to find out what those are.
Yep.
Right now. Okay, we're starting out in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region, where we're getting bites around the clock on LBJ, like Buchanan, Richland Chambers, and Toledo Bend. But time of day, like we said, really matters during that summertime heat right now. So let's listen to Matt Loescher on where and when we'll be able to reel some fish in. Go for it, Matt.
Okay, Bree, let's do it. Yeah, definitely you'll see a theme throughout my report with the early mornings and the late evenings, which, like you said, that's when you want to be out there anyway. It's not quite as hot, so take advantage of that right now. Going to start down in the southwest part of my region with Jared Poole and his crew at the Hill Country Hammer Guide Service. They've been catching some good quality fish on LBJ lately, like they always do. These guys continue to catch them even with the summer heat. He tells me there the water temperature is around 83 degrees, and they're catching them good on frogs and on walking bait in those shady pockets around the docks and the seawalls, first thing in the morning, then late in the evening. And then when the sun is high, they're using Texas rigged plum-colored worms out in 20 to 30 foot of water, going deep to get out of that hot sun around the rock piles and the brush piles. And he sent me a photo to kick it off this week of a young man named Cooper Count with a real nice bass right in the sunrise. Beautiful first thing in the morning catch there. Good job, Cooper. Now moving on down to Lake Buchanan. Jared gave me a report there this week as well. He said the water temperature is a little bit cooler. It's a nice cool 81, and the main lake points are producing well early and late in the low light hours using walking bait. And they're also catching fish there on football jigs in about 15 to 25 foot of water around the humps in the mid-lake area when the sun's up. Now moving up to Richland Chambers, Mr. Thurman Selman tells me that the lake has come up some there. It's now about 2.6 foot low. Bass are being caught around the waterfall area where they're pumping in that water daily, bringing the lake up. The fish are being caught on bass assassin swim bait, fishing them underneath the hybrids there. And they're also being caught on 11-inch bass assassin worms, fishing them on Carolina rigs around the deep rock piles and the brush. Now moving over to Sam Rayburn, the water level there is doing the opposite. It's coming down pretty slowly. It's fairly stable. It's about 2 foot down from pool level now. There is some grass producing fish in the mid-lake areas early in the morning, and then midday you're going to want to get out in the lake a little further, about 10 to 20 foot with Carolina rigs and crankbaits. Been hearing some really good reports of big fish being caught on crankbaits this week. The Skeeter Bass Champs is having their annual Texas shootout there this Sunday, and they'll be paying $50 grand for first place in this one. So put those deep diving crankbaits to work and bring in some big ones and win you some big money there. Also, Rusty's Team Tournaments is hosting a free fish event on the Saturday before if you want to enter that one and kind of use it as a practice for the Bass Champs. Now over here at Toledo Bend, the best bite, once again, is early and then late in the evening on the main lake flats in about 15 to 25 foot of water. Crankbaits and worms are the go-to bait. When the sun is high, the fish are getting tighter to the wood cover where you can kind of entice them with a jig or a worm fished a little slower, but the best bite's definitely early and late. Now switching over to white bass, stripers, and hybrids. All three of these species have really shown up to the party lately on a lot of middle fresh region lakes. White bass are being caught like crazy here at Toledo Bend and on Sam Rayburn, on silver jigging spoons on the main lake points and the flats, about 15 to 25 foot of water. Up at Richland Chambers, you already heard me mention hybrids there at the waterfall area. And then down at Lake Buchanan, Jared Poole says the stripers and the white bass are mixed together with the largemouth bass on those main lake points. So you can catch all three species on walking topwater plugs right now. Now, last but not least, finishing up with crappie. They have slowed down a little bit. They're not biting quite as well as they were in the past few weeks. We're past the full moon now, and the water temps are creeping up, so they're really kind of hiding out in the shade, getting under the timber and stuff. They're not coming out and feeding quite as much, but you can still find them in those same areas, about 15 to 30 foot of water. Like I said, getting in that shady cover around the bridge pilings and stuff like that. And you can still catch a pretty good mess. You just have to be a little bit more patient. And I'm going to leave you this week with a photo of the crappie queen herself, Miss Cheryl Dorman, and myself there with a selfie of she and I with a big old slab.
All right, bud, good job. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Middle Fresh region. Our boy Matt says the largemouth bass are best early and late on topwater baits and midday on worms and crankbaits. White bass, stripers, and hybrids are also best early and late on topwaters and jigging spoons, and then the crappie are hanging in the shade in 15 to 30 feet, biting minnows the best.
All right, continuing the theme, Captain Bink Grimes in the Garmin Middle Coast region is definitely feeling the sweltering temps, so let's hear how he is adjusting our summertime approach. Go for it, Bink.
It's been a calm, hot week. It was 98 this week instead of 101. It felt like we had a cold front come through. Temps have been, like I said, around triple digits most of the days. We've been leaving well before daylight and getting back, before noon, before we bake. The good news is waters have been green about every inch of the bay, something we look forward to every time this in June. And Palacios, the upper reaches of the bay, like Tres Palacios, Karankawa Bay, have been good along the shorelines, holding shell. Guide Ray Sexton said he's been wading tight to those reefs and picking off trout early in the morning. Waders in East Matagorda Bay said small topwaters have crushed a lot of 5-pounders, and those tossing bass assassins have also found trout up to 8 pounds off the tips of the reef on little tappers and the sea shad. Waders in Port O'Connor continue that early morning topwater bite. It's been great around the hump and city slickers, and later in the day they're finding chest deep channels and working those depths with bass assassins and Mirror Little Johns. The surf was right for a few days this week. It was a little bumpy, but it was green to the beach, and most boaters had to travel farther down to find larger concentrations of pogies. Those waders that walked in around Surfside found good catches on small topwaters like that Berkeley Jaywalker. And then in Rockport, it's still been good. Anglers tossing corkies and soft dines along the sand and grass humps have been scoring big. There's a photo there. That's a nice trout caught in East Matagorda Bay and quickly released. We've been catching a lot of really good 5 to 8 pound fish, but with these warm temperatures, it's imperative you get those big trout back in the water as soon as you possible. A good rule of thumb is hold your breath when you get him out of the water, and when you can't breathe anymore, that trout needs to go back in the water. So our water temperature has been about 86 degrees, and it really puts a stress on these big fish right now. We'll go redfish. It's been really tough to find schools of redfish to work on, but more water in the bay has been better. Tides, they returned to normal. We've had a lot of high pressure, which is bringing up these 100-degree temperatures, and what that does, it drops our tides a lot, but we got a little bit of water back. Don't be surprised to find black drum over the reefs and those lakes, and they're catching these redfish. Shell Island's been good, and there's lots of black drum in there as well. Pringle, Conti, and Showwater Lakes have been good. Most of those guides around there have been making long drifts with live shrimp and small topwaters. If you want a big bull redfish, it's a broken record every week, but man, they're all over the jetty right now. Monster Reds at Port O'Connor, Freeport, Matagorda, Port Aransas. Most are throwing finger mullets or pogies. There's a lot of pogies in the surf right now. A lot of them are throwing cast nets and getting their pogies and cutting them and doing really, really well. some of those schools have been coming to the surface later in the day, and they're just really, really crushing those big groups of pogies. And with the surf coming this week, there's a lot of redfish roaming the first gut. For guys that were throwing topwaters towards the first gut for trout, they were kind of surprised with big crushes of redfish around the tip of the Matagorda jetty. Offshore, triple tail, our weed lines are holding large triple tail, and a few anglers are targeting them. We've also got triple tail just inside West Matagorda Bay. They're coming through the Port O'Connor jetty, which they always do, and we're catching them on all that shade and all kind of debris out there. There's lots of Dorado as well, steady action on light tackle offshore. Red snapper, as always, they're over rocks and wrecks. Most of them are in 100 foot of water right now. That's about 25 to 30 miles out. They go a little deeper when our water temperatures are as high as they are. There's still a lot of swords being taken about 80 miles out. Kingfisher cobia, they're also showing up around rigs. It's been a great week in the GARMIN Middle Coast region. There's still a lot of summer to go. Lots of good prospects out there. Please keep practicing catch and release and take care of our trout and take care of our bays and our oceans.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. Great report, giving us all that offshore information. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Bink says that the trout are good in Rockport on Corkies and soft dines on the flats adjacent to Linda Ann Channel. And then redfish are good on the Freeport jetties on mullet and table shrimp. Lydia Ann, I'm sorry.
And don't forget to hold your breath to know how long to keep them out of the water for.
He's got to go back.
That's awesome.
I'm already out of breath.
I love it. All right, the lower fresh region is taking the reins next. But first, we're going to giddy up on over to the workbench for rigs and techniques with Dave Farrell. Dave, hold your breath.
I'm going to hold my breath while Rick talks today, because he's going to be talking about redfish.
We're going to pass out.
Big ones. How to catch those big ones up on the jetties that Bing was just talking about.
Yeah, we'll be on the floor for sure. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio Sunglasses. Blue light blocking. Radically clear lenses. Garmin. Plot your paradise. FiberTex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
So Dave, we're here at the workbench doing a little rigs and techniques on red fishing.
Yeah, you said you wanted to talk about Redfish 101 and what to throw and when. So we're going to start off right away with choosing a rod and reel.
Absolutely.
For the redfish.
You know what, Dave? Everybody fishes with a bait caster and a plug rod in Texas. And the one thing that I love about it is the different makes and models. You can go with a two-handed rod, you can go with a one-handed rod. But the key is that depending on the type of fishing you're doing, you need to make sure you purchase a reel with different retrieve ratios. Like these pins here go from a 9.2 down to this particular one, which is a 5 points. So the reason why that's important, if you're trying to work a walk the dog type of lure like this hijacker, it has to have slack in order for it to walk the dog. Top water lures for redfish and trout in Texas is something that everybody does the first thing they do in the morning.
Because it's a lot of fun.
It absolutely is a lot of fun. Plus, you know, the thing that guys need to remember is when it's blowing real hard and you have a lot of ripples on the water, then maybe you don't want to fish top water. And that's why top waters work so well early and late in the day.
Because it's calmer.
That's generally going to be a little calmer throughout the day. It could be, you know, still blowing 20, but it only be a 12 at daylight, you know?
Right.
So don't be afraid to fish topwater throughout the whole day if you got the conditions for it. What makes a good topwater bite is certainly that the topwater is very effective. They can see it V-waking as well as they can hear the noise, whether it's a chugger like this cane walker or whether it's a walk the dog type of lure. That's going to be the difference. All right, now, if you don't have those conditions, the one thing that you're going to want to do is now Now, a lot of guys throw search baits. You hear Bink talking about it and Chad talking about throwing paddle tail styles of baits. Well, this Bass Assassin, I noticed that more often than not, a lot of the favorite colors that Bass Assassin sells in Texas, everything has a chartreuse tail. So it could be Mama's chicken, it could be the chicken on a chain, could be this Morning Glory. There's a variety of different colors.
But most of them have that chartreuse tail.
That's correct. The mistake we all make, Bub, this is rigged on an Eagle Claw boxer head jig head. The mistake that I believe that I made it for years, and Roland Martin straightened me out, was a search bait, a vibrating type of lure. The lateral line of the fish is going to feel that. So why do we jerk it and stop it, jerk it and stop it? It's not a jerk bait. A paddle tail is a vibrational type of bait, guys.
The paddle tail stops working when you're jerking it around.
Very critical just to keep reeling it. Reel it steady, allow the tail to vibrate, allow the fish to feel the vibration. And
like a spoon.
Yes, exactly. And that's a great, good choice. That's another thing that happens is a spoon is a great bait because you're tight when he bites it. And also, it's got vibration and flash. And I found that the 1/4 ounce spoon works the best because it's just the right size to give you a much more a tighter vibration. A 1/2 ounce, a little bit bigger wobble. You don't catch as many fish on it, but great on a windy day. The negative of spoon, when they all come, it doesn't matter what make and model they are. Get in here tight, Doug, on this. The weed guard comes like this, and when the fish's mouth goes over the top, that weed guard will poke him in the roof of the mouth. So what we do is we pull that weed guard up like so, and then we bend it so that now when he bites down on it, the weed guard's not going to poke him in the roof of the mouth. Plus, if you hit an oyster or you hit anything like you're hitting the rocks, if you're throwing along the edge of the jetty and the riprap, it's going to bounce off because it's going to work its way away.
Well, you just mentioned the jetties, and you were talking about, Bink was talking about how there's a bunch of big ones. And you've won a little bit of money on the jetties in Texas.
I've won so much money on the jetties. Here's the key, guys. If you're going to go fish the jetties, the key is that what I would do with Paige would be, he would be fishing in the back of the boat with a deep diving crankbait, a 16, a 20. This War Pig is perfect for it. It's a 3/4 ounce. It's going to swim like this. That's correct. And it's going to swim like this. And by swimming like that, when it hits a rock, it deflects off and the hooks are not pointing towards the rock. As soon as it deflects, that's when that redfish bites it. So many times at the jetty you're catching fish that are too big, but guess what? If they're around 28, 29, 30 inches, you might have to catch 10 oversized in order to make it work. But the key is use something that will reflect or bounce off. I was always fishing on the front with a vibrato, a spoon type, and vertically jigging. So we were covering the water column both forward of the boat and behind the boat.
There you go. Well, that'll do it. We ran out of time. You probably went for another hour, couldn't you?
I could have gone for like 3 more, and we all would have passed out because we're holding our breath, remember?
Yeah.
No, that was pure gold. Amazing. All right, now let's head into the lower fresh region and take a look at what's biting on Fayette County, Buchanan, Decker, Choke Canyon, Somerville, and Lake Falcon with Matt Reed. Go for it, Matt.
All right, let's get started in my end of the world. We're going to talk about the largemouth bass first. Greg Boyk has sent me a report from Fayette County. The last week has been a little on again, off again. As we get past the full moon, that should become more consistent. Early and late have been the best bites, but there's also a small feeding window right in the middle of the day. Big crankbaits, drop shots, shaky head with worms on them, and hair jigs have been doing best in that 15 to 20 foot range. He's noticed the thermocline setting up at 20 to 22 feet. That'll keep most of the fish just above that to where they have better oxygen concentrated, along the edges of those drops. Brian Cotter sent me a report from the Austin area. Lake Buchanan is fishing really well. Look for rock piles and 6 to 15 foot, and he's getting some to come up on walking style top waters over the top of them. Also, if you want to fish on the bottom, you want to throw a shaky-headed, straight tail worm and watermelon or green pumpkin. Lake Decker's fishing well also. He's throwing a 5-inch stick bait and green pumpkin along the outside edge of the grass. And you want to dye the tail chartreuse to get more bites. Frogs are working great in a few places shallow, along the shallow cover that you can find. Later, you want to look for brush piles in that 10 to 15 foot of range offshore and throw a big Texas rig worm through those. At Choke Canyon, Mike Bates sent a report saying summer's in full swing. The last few weeks there's been quite a bit of pressure on the lake with some tournament championships there. Numbers have been a little bit lower, but the size has still been real good, up to 9 pounds. Top water bites good early in the morning. Frogs and buzz baits have been best. After that dies down, chatterbaits and swim jigs on the outside grass lines have been catching them really good also early. Later on, the offshore bite in that 10 to 20 foot range is where you need to be. Throw a Carolina rig or crankbaits out on those drops. That's what's received the most pressure lately, but it should come back real soon. That's where you'll catch your biggest ones on up in the day. Down at my end of the world, Falcon Lake is on its normal summer bite. The fish are positioned on the main lake rock and brush piles in that 12 to 20 foot range. I love to throw crankbaits, Texas rig, and stand-up head soft plastics to catch some giants. We're entering what sounds kind of crazy because of the heat, but we're entering my favorite time of the year at Falcon. The big ones become very predictable. Come on down and join in on the fun. Got a couple of pictures there, some little old South Texas specials. Mike Bates, that first picture, that's the one he's caught recently at Choke Canyon on a trip. And that bottom picture is a fat falcon bass one of my buddies caught the other day.
Shaking his head again.
I know where I'm going to spend next June.
Birthday trip.
All right,
That'd be fun.
Tell me about the white bass and the hybrids,
Let's talk
bud.
about the white bass and hybrids. Lake Somerville, it's just full of white bass and hybrids, and they're on fire right now. They're schooling on the main lake points and flats, down toward the dam. They're concentrated around the bait fish. You need to find them with your electronics. If the fish on the surface, they're easy to find, but if not, you need to, use your electronics to find the big schools of shad. Slabs, spoons, paddle tail swim baits, and bright colors have been best. Also, if you troll a little pet spoon behind a deep diving crankbait, that's a great way to catch a bunch of numbers also. Falcon Lake white bass are on fire right now. They're actively schooling early in the morning on the lower lake. They're easy to find. Just get out there and look for the seagulls like you would in saltwater. The gulls are working those surface schools. They'll bite anything that looks like a shad when you throw it in there, crankbait, top water, or slab. That'll catch you an easy limit every morning.
All right, bud, you did great, making us jealous. Here in the studio, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the FiberTech hotspots from the lower fresh region. He says Falcon Lake is on its normal summer bite. The bass are positioned on the main lake rocks and brush piles in 12 to 20 feet of water. Throw crankbaits, Texas rig, and stand-up heads to catch some giants. We're entering his favorite time of year on Falcon Lake, and the big ones have become very predictable. So come join the fun, just like he said in his report.
I'm just sick of you watching you shake your head. So I'm booking your birthday trip next year in June. You're going to catch a birthday bass.
You going with me?
Yep.
Okay. It looks like we're leaving it all to Dave.
We're doing it. Bye. All right, get ready because when we come back, we're casting into the lower coast and upper fresh region. So stay hooked and remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll be back.
Yay.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Island Lures, Tournament Tackle. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Shallow Sport, Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
You know, Brie, we had one of our captains fish in the Skeeter Yamaha Bassmaster Redfish Cup in Port Aransas, Texas last year in November. And let's see what he loves about his Skeeter. Let's take a look.
Captain Ron Houston, handling the Southwest region. Key to some of my successes were in the Redfish Cup, Yamaha Redfish Cup. Mainly I run the SX230. It's a boat that'll draft about 10 inches, 9 inches in soft mud. Getting into that shallow water and being stealthy. The SX230 basically runs level, it doesn't squat. Whatever you go over the front end, the back end's gonna basically come on out. The space in the boat while fighting a fish, I got plenty of room. Those redfish up in Texas were a little bit stronger, more of a structure fish, so I got plenty of room around this whole boat to chase the fish down. Another key is having the SHO Yamaha 250. It's a lighter motor. Basically adds to this boat as far as speed and fuel consumption with a 60-gallon fuel tank. That motor's about 560 pounds. Having the 23-footer, I can run any rough water to get to where I'm going, and once I get to where I'm going, fishing the shallow water is the key for me in this boat compared to the other Skeeters that are on the market. So if you're interested in any of the Skeeter Bay Boat models, you can go to skeeterboats.com. They will direct you to the local dealer in your area on where you want to purchase a boat.
You know, Brie, one of the things that I was really impressed with is how well those big 28-inch redfish. Ronnie had a 19-pound stringer one day, and those fish in that live well, they were just as comfortable as if they were at home. It was really impressive to see it on camera.
Skeeters, check, check, check. There you have it. All right, ready or not, the Lower Coast Region Captain Chad Kinney is ready to get you on the water this weekend catching. So Chad, tell us what you know.
Well, I know the weather's been great the last week, and then this whole forecast, looking up as long as I can see, looks really, really good. So we finally broke that trend of the other stuff. We got some good weather, really helps the bay fishing out, and definitely the offshore with the blue water coming in. So talking about inshore, then talking about that trout bite, which has just been really off the hook. It's been excellent on the lower coast, and I've been seeing a lot more flounder being caught with some guides, clients, all the above. A lot more flounder moving in the bay system than we've seen in a long time also on the lower coast. So I'm going to talk about that trout fishing. That's been really, really excellent. I don't want to say a rebound, but they're just thick, solid, good fish. If you're up in the Corpus Christi area, the wellheads are producing really, really good. Free line and live croaker on there is definitely the way to go right now in that deeper water. If you're down to the land cut, you come down from Bass or Corpus, you're hitting that land cut right there. 9-mile hole has been really good. The drop-offs, and especially those weed lines around those guts that come in and out of the oil guts, that's working really well also. The King Ranch shoreline with this better weather, that's where I would really be kind of targeting. You can hit that all the way down, especially up here in Port Mansfield. There's been some bigger trout up there. A lot of water we haven't been able to touch for a while due to the winds. So there's plenty of fish in that slot limit, and there's definitely some oversized we've been releasing. The croaker free line is working really best on this right here. We're using like a 5-aught Eagle Claw Kale hook. When the bait starts getting bigger, we'll bump up to a 7. And for our shock leader, we're putting a 30-pound Memorial mono leader on there. That makes it plenty there to get into the fray and stuff to definitely land these fish solid with that. The fish are holding that 3 to 5 foot range right in those grass beds and potholes. Take advantage of this good weather and do some wade fishing or get up on those shorelines with your shallow sport. You're going to have a great time. Got a picture here of a solid trout. Captain Hubbard Reynolds, one of his clients here, just released out just shy of 30 inches. So
wow.
Moving into the flounder fishing, like I said, it's really picked up along the lower coast region. I think a lot of this has to do with the tidal movement. We got the jetties cleaned out. We got a lot more tidal movement than we've had in the past. A lot of these guts are flushing in and out with bait. So if you're fishing the land cut up there, even farther, which helps the tidal up there, fish those guts and drop-offs there, fish under the docks, on the houses and shacks, pitch up underneath there. Out of Port Mansfield here, we're fishing up in the east cut, and those guts preferably on like an outgoing tide when it's starting to just barely start moving out. We use the Eagle Claw down to a 1/4-ounce jig head with a FISHBITES strip on it, and slowly work those edges and drop-offs and repeat until you get some bites. Kind of look for some bait movement or shimmering and movement along the edges, and you just got to keep on repeating and pitching on a real slow retrieve, and you'll have some good thumps and have some good action there. Got a picture of Wayne Day, solid flounder there.
Wow.
Moving to the offshore, been some good flounder. So moving to the offshore, state waters and federal waters really been good. Deeper waters producing some flagics and some bigger grouper and some deep drop and stuff with these calmer conditions out there in currents. So the state water is really excellent, but the bite has slowed down in the state water, and this is due to a crab hatch. I talk this every year, pretty much in June it happens. All it is, guys, is a crab hatch that they bloom, and there's crabs everywhere, and they're real small size. You'll see them in your cooler when they come up and blow up a little bit. They just don't bite as much. but this will pass in about 2-3 weeks. But the good side is out deeper, fatter waters open up, and the crab hatch hasn't hit up there at all, and the bite's been really awesome. So basically get an Eagle Claw trocar jig out there with a fish bite on it, or get some fresh bait on a double drop rig if the current is a little bit stronger for some reason, but that hasn't been the case of late. And there's been some really good suspended fish, so look at your GARMIN sonar to see where they're targeting that. You can drop down there, do a 10-second, 12, 15-second count, and there's been plenty of solid fish there. So moving out to deeper, if you're out snapper fishing, you want to drop down for a grouper, look for those guys maybe in 200 to 500 foot of water. The big Warsaw grouper is one you can really kind of target there. I'd say on this guy, you definitely need like a minimum of a Penn International 50 wide or better to get him going. I've been using our Penn 130 wide electric hooker reels. I just got these things, and these are great. I got 2 of them set up, and they're plugged in on the boat, and they're by far the best equipment I've used for sword fishing out to deep dropping for the grouper there. We got them spooled up with 80-pound braid and set the drag there perfect, and you can get them no problem. So on these bigger grouper, what we're using is some bigger baits on there. You can get like a full bonita. If you get a tuna or anything on there, you get to drop it down to the bottom. Key thing is kind of keep it a little bit loose and free spool. When you feel these guys stump, they're like a big bass. You got to let them eat a little bit because they're going to spit it on you. So let them take it a little bit, lock up that big Penn electric, or hand crank them up, and you'll get them going. I got a picture of a Tanner Win here with about 150-pound Warsaw we just got.
Wow, that's great. Good for you, Chad. Are you finished? That's it? I don't want to say goodbye. You had it really going on. All right, bud, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boat hotspots from the lower coast region. Chad said inshore, the trout bite continues to be great from the wellheads in Corpus Christi Bay down to the land cut and the grass beds in 3 to 5 feet of water from Port Mansfield to South Padre. And then offshore, the blue water is closer in with the pelagics and plenty of red snappers in state and federal waters. Looks like that all that water's cleaned up when we were there fishing, Brie.
I think so.
Yeah, man.
All right, the Upper Fresh region is ready for us, and our guide Mike McFarland is giving us the 411 on Lake Fork, Texoma, Tawakoni, Athens, and Levon. Go for it, Mike.
Hey, Brie. Good to be here. Water temperatures, let's start with Lake Fork. Water temperatures are ranging 83 to 86. Lake level is 397 now, which is 6 feet, almost exactly below full pool. Clarity is really good, 1 to 2 foot. Noticed this morning we're even getting better on the clarity. We just finished last weekend the annual Skeeter Owners event, the owner tournament event, and it was just here. I'm telling you, it really showed out. The tent and vendor booths were packed. It was a huge success. There was over 1,800 anglers that hit the water. 900 Skeeter bass boats just tore this lake up from end to end. It was so cool to see all those Skeeter boats out there. It was really great fishing. Many big bass were caught and weighed in successfully. The biggest slot bass was 11 pounds. That means over 24 inches over the slot bass, 11 pounds on the dot, which is amazing. But that winning angler won a fully loaded, brand new 2022 Skeeter FXR 20-foot bass boat. I mean, where in the world can you come fish an amateur tournament and win a boat like that? Right here on Lake Fork with the Skeeter owner event. That's where. But the biggest under 16 was 299, and it took home a 4-seater off-road 4x4 all-terrain vehicle, which is an awesome prize to win for us. 3-pound fish. But the overall event went really smooth. It was yet another successful Skeeter owner event here on the world famous Lake Fork. Now the bass fishing's actually slowed down just a bit this past week. We're still catching some good ones. The big worms in plum apple, and blue fleck. Those colors fished around brush piles and fished in about 12 to 16 feet of water on points are really yielding the best success. Let's talk about some bass fishing on Lake Athens. Lake Athens with guide Jake Bonner. 81 to 85 degrees, the water temp. Docks in the early morning with Sinkos and flukes. The fish are really starting to school in the midday. They can be caught out in the main lake. Watch for top water bites sometimes out there, just in mid-open lake. And then the outside grass lines, points and stuff are good with Texas rigs, Sinkos, and sea rigs, Carolina rigs. Lake Levon, the black bass there picked up a little bit. White and chartreuse spinnerbaits early in the morning, 7:30, then switched to crankbaits and divers, swim jigs and swim baits, and even some Alabama rigs on the main lake structure. The main lake points where you find brush piles and shallow timber, you need to have a hard bottom there. If you're around soft bottom, those fish just don't like that soft sediment. So concrete, rocks, sand, those are your key areas in 1 to 20 feet. Moving on some more, crappie fishing with the famous Harry Moon on Lake Fork. The crappie have been in about 14 to 24 feet in brush piles, creek channels, and tree lines. With the high pressure, they're holding deep to the tight structure, but you have to get past the brim first to catch them. So we're using 1/8 ounce skipper jigs with chartreuse and limit tackle 1/8 ounce in pink and chartreuse, or even white and chartreuse. They're transitioning to summer patterns and heading to the treetops in deep water. This is some really great pictures here of a young man, Wyatt Thagard. He fished with basically 3 generations of fishing here. I mean, he caught the biggest crappie of the day fishing with Miss Terry Moon.
Nice.
Yeah, Terry. Cute.
We can go on to Lake Levon crappie with Terry Thorne. Fish are in 5 to 10 feet of water early mornings, 8 a.m. By 9 or so, they're moving out a little deeper, 9 to 17 with 14 foot being the magic number. Tawakoni, man. Tawakoni's on fire. This is going to be the hybrids and stripers, but the Tawakoni fishing, including catfish, is just crazy. They've been catching everything this week. Hard to deal with some of the winds. You got to get out and earn it. But the sand bass, the hybrids, they're schooling at daybreak around shallow flats. The slabs and swim baits are working, but the live bait is the best. The big stripers have been suspended 30 to 40 feet, but they are catching them. I mean, catching them. And so here's really some more great pics of Matt Cartwright with a day's catch.
All right, what else you got?
Let's do one more. Let's go all the way to Lake Fork. Let's do Jackie Wiggins and some catfishing here on Lake Fork. It's been on fire too. The 15 to 25 foot around creek channels, underwater bridges, trees, laydowns, and baited holes. Drop them cattle cubes or sour grains in an area the day before and come back the next day. You're going to catch fish. Baits like punch bait, dip bait, dough bite, even chicken liver, night crawlers. You're going to catch a lot of eater-sized channel catfish. And a lot of the bigger fish are actually moving up to spawn, but with the shallow water, there's not a lot of areas for them. But here's another great picture of catching a whole bunch of catfish with Jackie Wiggins.
All right, thanks for all the pictures, Mike. You did a great job. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh hotspots. Mike says Tawakoni is the place to be. Huge stringers of stripers, hybrids, white bass are being caught offshore with live bait and slab spoons. Meanwhile, the largemouth bass are being caught all day long on topwater frogs in the shallows around the lily pads and vegetation. And the blue and channel catfish is absolutely on fire, crazy with cut baits and punch baits, as well as worms and shads, Brie.
I'm just loving how many photos have kiddos in them.
Yeah,
it's
man.
making my heart so happy. I know it was Father's
too.
Day, but still. All right, the Fish Bites Upper Coast Region Captain is coming up with your weekend catch report. But first, we're taking a look at the workbench where Dave is making a lot of noise
I'm
for
making
new
a lot of noise
products.
because there's something in this bucket. We're going to show what's in the bucket.
Oh, I wonder what it is. Uh-oh.
Is it alive?
It's a noisemaker. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Fenwick, feel everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. And STARTRON, start, run, and store with STARTRON.
Today's PowerPole tip is certainly one of the most frequently asked questions that I get. A lot of people say, Captain Rick, I want to ask you, when I decide to get a PowerPole, do I want to get 2 poles or do I want to get 1 pole? Now here's what you need to understand, the pros and the cons of making this decision. When you have 1 pole, the one thing that happens is that you're going to always seem to drift downwind or down current. And the great thing about having twin power poles is that it allows you to have the great stopping power that you have when you have 1, but you're also going to have a lot more control. It's going to allow you to lock into position and the current won't change your position. Having 2 poles will let you key in on exactly where you need to be so that when you're targeting that fish, you can create the most perfect presentation. So 1 power pole anchor is always going to stop and hold your boat, but 2 will give you an added advantage for serious angling, just like the pros. The next tip is about the 3-speed control that you have, and that's today's power pole tip. Two's better than one, Dave.
I don't know how we fish without those things. Although you can come and fish with me because I don't have one.
Well, we got to fix that.
It's a little tiny boat. So anyway, I got the little push pole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it works fine. Anyway, we're going to start here with a StarBrite toilet bowl cleaner. It's designed specifically for marine toilets and RVs. You just can't use whatever you want to use in a boat head or an RV head, because a lot of those chemicals in there can really mess up some of the stuff that's in
piping.
Yeah, your plumbing. So this will not damage any of the seals or the valves that are in those kind of toilets. Remove stains and water deposits quick and easy. You can use it on plastic or porcelain, and it kills all the odors in there as well. So if you have a boat big enough to have a head in it, then you're going to need some toilet bowl cleaner made for a marine head, not just any old stuff.
Sounds good to me.
Go to StarBrite. And
StarBrite.com.
Yep, get you some of theirs.
All right.
Next, we got some Berkeley Cutter 90s. These are the new Mangrove Minnow and the new mullet colors. We might have talked about these before, but these are the brand new saltwater colors here. Really looks nice. That mullet one especially looks really good to me. I think that thing looks just like a mullet. There's a suspending jerk baits that you can cast a long way still. There's 3/8 ounce there. It's a 3.5 inch. It's a coffin shaped bill on it. Square little bill. Provides a really good darting action. It's got the angled bill, and it's an ideal bait and fish imitator, either in the mullet or the mangrove minnow. Stainless steel hardware all over it. It's got the Fusion 19 3X strong hooks, anti-rust hooks, and you can go to berkeleyfishing.com to pick those up.
I love the fact that we can just rinse them off, shake them a couple times, and put them in our tackle box, and we don't have a rusty tray.
That's right. Next, we got the TH Marine Gator Guard Hitch Guard. It's from Gator Guard, and it's to keep your shins and your knees from banging on your trailer hitch.
Trailer ball.
Yeah. Well, this allows you to cover up the whole hitch. The ball just sticks out, so that it's going to save your knees. It comes in a day glow one or that black one. If you're ever walking around behind your truck and if you don't.
It's happened to all of us.
I know. I did it just the other day, as a matter of fact. And so, get you one of these. It's 360-degree impact protection. Slide it on real easy. Secure it with that little zip tie. Leaves full access to your ball. Fits most trailer hitches, and it stays soft whether it's hot or cold.
Yeah, I like it.
Get one of those TH Marine for that.
I love that product.
THMarine.com. Heck yeah, man. Saves you. Last but not least, we've got the Fish Razor bucket dredge, and what this is really cool, this is a whole dredge that fits in a bucket. It's great for if you're on a center console boat, something that you don't have a whole lot of storage space, but this whole little dredge fits in a bucket, and you can pull this as a teaser. That'll go on there, but
we're not gonna mess with that.
No, it's easy to store. It's got 4 colors. They either come with the 9-inch squids or these little fat squids. If you get the 9-inch squids, you get 21 squids on it. With the little fat guys, you get 35 squids on there.
Wow.
2 10-inch bars, and it comes with a 4-pound dredge weight as well. So you can set all that up and get out there and troll you up some sailfish or some blue marlins or something while you're out there. Anything will come to these dredges. And a lot of guys like to use a live bait dredge,
Right.
It goes this way, as a matter of fact. There you go.
Oh, that's what happened.
That's what happened. So anyway.
It's typical. Ricky was upside down.
You were upside down and backwards there. But yeah, a lot of guys use these for when they're bill fishing, but a lot of fish will come up to these. Wahoos will come stick their head in there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously your sails, your whites, your dolphins, any pelagic fish. This is just a school of bait swimming around. So go to fishrazor.com. RAZR, Fish Razor, and get you a bucket dredge.
Yeah, tell them Dave sent you.
Yeah, it's a nice bucket too.
What do you think about the old bucket dredge, Brie?
I love the bucket dredge, and I love a good old bucket too, especially one with a rope handle on it.
That's right.
All right, let's jump into the Fish Bites Upper Coast region and see what kind of bites we can whip up with Captain Carl Weston. Go for it, Carl.
Hey guys, the flounder bite has been solid in the evening up in Sabine Lake. Early in the morning for you early birds, it's been really hot along the rocks and the jetties and in those deep holes along the channel. Now over at Seawolf Park, those bulkheads and pylons have been holding some smaller fish, but they're still a lot of fun to catch. we've been using a slip rig, just a simple 2-foot piece of diamond, say 20-pound fluorocarbon works great. A 3-ounce egg sinker tied to a 4-aught Eagle Claw hook will get the job done. You know, try your fish bite shrimp or live mullet. They're both working well. Whatever you choose, just keep that bait bouncing off the bottom. Keep a nice little rhythm. That'll entice the old flatties to strike. And we have a picture of Leon today with a nice flatty that couldn't resist fish bite.
Nice. Look at Leon smiling.
On to redfish, guys. They've been hot. They've been everywhere. They've been chasing bait along the shorelines, inshore, down the jetties. They're almost everywhere right now with this hot, warm water and all the bait. Slot red's been moving onto those oyster reefs around Texas City Dike and in the open bays this week. Working the grassy shorelines over Bolivar has been a great fishing spot as well. Topwater's been on point for those early mornings and just about the last 2 hours of light in the evening. You know, hard plastics and bone or chrome color is doing really well. The 3.5-inch shrimp on a 1/4-inch jig head is really doing well. Live shrimp on a popping cork, always a small croaker, cut shad. Like I said, there are a lot of fish and a lot of different bait options. Just the shad are schooling a lot of jetties and along the beach front. So just grab your cast net if you want fresh bait. You can't beat the price on it. Just stay hydrated out there and have some fun. We had a picture today of Colton fishing with his dad, Cody, this week with a really nice fish.
That's a big one.
Nice. What else you got, bub?
Oh, well, tuna. We ran into some tuna this week. They're kind of scattered all over. Blackfin offshore in Blackfin and Bonita. I've caught from 90 feet out to about 1,000 feet. I'll get it straight here in a second, guys. You know, in the 300 to 700 foot range, the blackfin have been mixed with bonita and some smaller yellowfin. And these two have been chasing glass minnows through that scattered grass and around the current breaks. So we've got a bunch of algae blooms right now in patches of grass. They're gathering up pretty nice with these east winds. And if it stays calm, start checking that SiriusXM fish mapping because it'll start showing these grass maps. You'll pick them up. It's going to make your life easy. These maps are out around 60 to 100 miles offshore right now. They're getting closer. Keep pushing in. Look for the birds. You'll see the birds first working on bait. That's your point. You want to go over and check that out. We were casting topwater lures. We tried out the new that Berkeley Chopo 120 and the Magic Swimmer in Gold. And man, they were money. The tuna couldn't leave that Chopo alone. It was funny. I was also very impressed, Rick, with the strength of the hooks because the guys were just jerking them in the boat. We were fast and furious, and I don't think we broke a hook.
That's good.
We have a picture of Chase with guilty as charged with a chrome Berkeley hanging out of its mouth.
Nice. All right, bub. Keep up that good work. Tell us about the tile fish.
Well, going deep has been hot also lately, and we have been dropping in from 900 to 1,000 feet for tiles. Almost any kind of bait. Cut bait has been great. I'll go back to, I know it sounds like we're beating a dead horse, but the fish bites has been awesome like we talked about in the past. Rigging on that R&R deep drop rig. You know, they have strong hook swivels. You can't beat the glow skirts like we've said in the past. And the bait will differ, you know, from anglers like cut squid, bait fish, whatever. But like we said, top that with some fish bites and you'll really see your increase. Also, on these tile fish rigs, you have your bottom weight and a top weight. Lay that rig out on the bottom. That's where the tile fish, you're going to get more than one fish. We get 2 or 3 at a time. Especially if the current's strong, put a light on each end. I like a green one. And then, and just watch for the tip to bend a little bit. Give it a little bump. Don't get too crazy. And you'll come up with 2 or 3 fish. And we have a fish here with, I think you know Ryan.
I do know Ryan.
Fish, and what's hanging out of his mouth?
It looks like some orange fish bites working well.
Woo! Yes, sir.
All right, bub. Thank you so much for all the pictures and all the fish bites updates. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says inshore, targeting redfish and tossing hard plastics such as the mirror lure or the Berkeley in bone and chrome colors. over the oyster reefs in West Galveston Bay, and then offshore, working the grass mats and algae blooms in a 700-foot depth range while throwing a gold or chrome Berkeley Magic Swimmer to those tunas that are breaking up on top.
The FISHBITES region is on fire.
It sure is.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot of fun throwing those top water lures at tuna fishing.
Yeah, man, it's so visual. Boom! So visual.
So visual. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Did we have a good Father's Day weekend, gentlemen?
I absolutely did. How about
Yes, I
you,
did.
Dave?
Yes, I did. Got some cards.
Got some cards.
I went off.
Little Molly Moo got me some stuff.
She did.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
We had some food. I came home with pizza, and then the next day, which was on Sunday, Father's Day, Mexican. So I blew it on my diet.
That's all right.
That's okay.
That's all right.
If
But
there's
it
any
was
weekend
so
you're gonna
good
do
to
it,
be back.
It's a good weekend to do
I like
it.
all food.
All right, guys. We'll see you next weekend. Thanks for joining in. Go catch them fish.